physical body, and we're so into that paradigm. That's the only way we can talk about this kind of central piece of consciousness that would be mental or astral, or we can only describe it in body terms. And in time, I think, as we enlarge our consciousness, there will be other words, and we'll understand more.
How do you, if we look at the world, how do you see the changes? I mean, there's quantum physics that is developing,
yes,
an understanding that there's much more than the physical, or
yes,
that even the physical is not really like we think it is. It's not fixed. It's not so hard as we think. It's absolute. It's energy and information, and it can change with.
Yes.
Through our thinking.
Yes.
How do you see the world changing in that regard?
Well, I think that's helped us, in part, confront what we got very concrete about. We got very concrete about scientific thinking. But I also think that we're on Earth in bodies for a reason. And one thing that our relationship to the earth and our terrible relationship now, excuse me, where we're basically poisoning ourselves and everything around us, I think it's forcing us to meet that we're on earth in physical bodies for a reason. And I don't think we're very cognizant about what that reason is. We think that religion has said the physical body is not important. What's important is up here.
Well, but I think we have to learn the consequences of our deeds in the physical body, because now we see it's a danger to our physical living. If we carry on like that, we have Fukushima, we have the nuclear radiation there, and it's probably much worse than we think. And people are hopefully getting aware that this is not a way to carry on.
I know.
Yeah. Let's go back to your farming. So you're on that farm, and are there situations where you got connected with trees or with plants, or what? I haven't read it so far because I just have it here now.
Got it.
I didn't have the chance. Can you tell something that was important for you to see the connection?
Well, yes. One that was a very lively experience was we have pretty much a ranch manager on our property who I call Natalio in the book. And Natalio is from Mexico, and he is very shamanic. He loves the vines. One day we had somebody demonstrating a hoe plow, and they cut down one of the vines that he had been nurturing from a baby, and he just held it in his arms and cried. It was just that feeling of love that he has. But he taught us about bees. He said that in Mexico he had had 100 hives, so he knew all about it, and I believe that's true. And so we finally decided we would do bees with him. But the way he keeps bees is very different from how Americans do, at least. I know that there's a strong shamanic base to beekeeping, and particularly in Europe. What he would do is he would be in communication with those bees. He'd watch them. He will enter a hive, but not very often. He says, I don't want that. He watches what's going on around the hive. And one day he said, the bees are angry. And so he started looking around. He said, there's a lizard around here somewhere. And sure enough, there was a lizard crawling up to get into the hive. And so he fixed it so that the lizard couldn't get in, although I don't think the lizard would have had a good reception if it had gotten into that hive.
Yeah.
But, and then when they would swarm, he would say, leave the bees alone. I mean, we were amazed, because when they come out, it's just like they are everywhere. For about 15 minutes, there's this huge cloud of bees. And then they congregate on in a bunch about like this on a tree limb nearby. And they stay there for maybe a day or two. And so we were out at night taking pictures, and the next day we collected it, because you're supposed to let them calm down. And they left immediately. The bees left. And Ramon said, you didn't respect them. They did not want to be photographed.
Oh.
He said they were busy, they had important business.
Okay.
And you insulted those bees.
Just by photographing
Yes.
them.
I was like, okay. But I think to learn not to just do something. We want the bees, so we're going to take them, we want to take their picture, we want to, do all of this. No, you better ask permission if you can take the picture, and then have the wherewithal to know if you can hear the answer, because most of us have forgotten that.
Yeah, we don't hear it, most of them. But there are domestic animals, they are much closer to you humans, and they adapt to their lives, and probably animals we have in the household, they learn to live together with humans. And
yes.
Do you talk to animals, or can you hear what they say, or how does it work?
I have goats, and I'm very close to those goats. I walk with them every day. They consider me a part of the herd. And it's only because I behave well with them. It's not because I show any dominance, because you do not dominate a goat, ever. Yeah. If you do, you have big trouble. That's where goats get their bad name. But if they speak another language, it's not English, it's not words. But when you walk with them, you begin to feel. They watch you all the time. They keep checking in. What are you doing? Are we going to be moving? Is everybody here? Look around. Is everybody here? Is there something else here? If we notice something, like a sound in the forest, they all stop, they look at me, they get together. And I know it's my job to watch out for them. So there's a communication, but it's not one that enters the mind. It really is in the body with an awareness that's there. So it's not exactly thinking. It's instinctual knowledge with an awareness of that instinctual knowledge.
Okay, then.
If that's clear.
Yeah, that's interesting. But then you were going into psychology,
yes.
And it's not easy, I think, in our world to include these things, because they are not welcome in the scientific world, so to say. What's psychology for you, and is it okay for you, or does it have to change? Or is there a change going on? I don't know.
First of all, I think being a Jungian analyst, I have more leeway. And because Jungians do view the unconscious in a very different way. Nevertheless, this book is not welcome with all of my colleagues, to say the least. And as my mentor was, they didn't know what to think of him. But I actually don't care. It is like I do incorporate this way of working. In terms of working with someone, I pay attention to what else is in the room with us. And I let myself observe first and listen, and then later on figure out things with my mind, if that needs to happen, but not take a theory and say, well, this person is borderline, so this is what I need to be doing with him. I don't.
You have your concepts in psychology and say, oh, that's sexuality,
that's right.
And that's whatever, and you have But that doesn't work.
Yes.
You have no fixed concepts?
Well, I do have fixed concepts, but I set them aside when I'm working with somebody. Mm-hmm. I use them later if I'm having to make a decision or understand something that happened. But more often than not, for instance, if somebody brings in a dream, now that dream may be symbolic. It may be, and it most often is. But sometimes it is a communication. Mm-hmm. And this is where I would probably get into trouble with some of my colleagues. There are spirit presences. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they talk to us in dreams. Sometimes the dead return and talk to us. And if you take that as symbolic, you are really practicing the dominion over stance in the world where you're not at one with and listening. And really, if you're working with symbols in a dream, I think it's wise to not have dominion over anyway. You really want to receive the energy of that symbol, so that you are not acting like you know more about the symbol than the symbol knows about itself.
That's probably what most people here on Earth do, that they think they know everything about everything, right. and they think they are highest, and right. Actually we are not so way up on the ladder, because some indigenous people may be much more connected to the whole universe, and they have much more knowledge. That's and we right. think they are minor or whatever.
Yes.
Let's go to the other book, Snake. It's a novel.
It's a novel.
What is it about?
Well, there's two ways I talk about it. One of them is the mythological part of it, which started when I entered a writers group, and all of a sudden this big serpent came to me and started talking to me. And as a result, I started writing down every snake story I'd heard growing up in the Midwest. We told snake stories a lot because everybody was afraid of snakes. Mm-hmm. And it would bond you.